Hi there, this is Jen, and thank you for joining me. I hope everyone is doing well today. I am doing a video today that's a little bit different than what I usually do. I had picked up this Whimsy Stamps paper pad a few weeks ago. It's called Fabulous Florals, and I know that a lot of us are at home and that we don't have access to be able to purchase more supplies because a lot of these stores, our favorites, are not shipping currently. And so I figured a lot of us have paper pads, whether that's a 6x6 paper pad or the 8x8 or the 12x12. And so I wanted to go ahead and make this video to see how many cards I could make out of a paper pad. My goal was not to use every piece of paper. My goal was just to see how many cards I could make. And I've never used up a paper pad like this before. I've never gone ahead and used every single piece of paper. What I ended up with was 2 cards per pattern. So there is a front side and a back side to this paper pad. And I went ahead and made 1 card with each sheet basically of 6x6 paper, which isn't super efficient, but like I said, that was not my goal going into this. I just wanted to have some fun and show some different layouts and also show that there is a lot you can do with just a paper pad and some sentiments. And I use sentiment stamps on my cards, but in the past I have just printed them out from my computer, and so that's an awesome option because you can pick any font you want and any sentiment you want. And so for this first card, I went ahead and I cut around the flowers, and going into it I wanted to do one on the top and one on the bottom and leave that space open in the middle. And then I decided I didn't want to do that, and so what I did was I put each straight edge against each other. And this 6x6 paper is non-porous, so it is more of kind of a shiny surface. So all of my sentiments that I put on the actual paper pad are done with VersaFine black and then embossed with clear embossing powder to make sure they stay set. So for this first card, I went ahead and I took that stripe pattern and made that the background of my sentiment, and then the actual sentiment is stamped onto a piece of white cardstock. And then those free flowers that I had cut out are just put around the card. And then I did add some Nouveau black, or ebony I think is what it's called, crystal drops. And the next card, like all of the cards that I created, is pretty simple. I just took a strip of that purple striped paper and adhered that to a card panel. And then I took these stickers. These are like border stickers or thin little stickers. I put it on the right side of that pattern paper just to trim it out. And here I'm just trying to figure out my layout for my flowers. And so I kind of mess around with a little bit till I decide what I actually want to do. And so what I did was to adhere that flower. I popped up the sentiment and made a fishtail, and the sentiment says cherished. And then I again added some Nouveau drops. These are my favorite probably out of all of the cards that I created. I think towards the end I was getting a little tired. So I just wanted to be finished with the paper pad. And so this next card is this really pretty striped kind of blues and greens, and then another floral pattern. And I am taking a card panel and I am adhering that to the floral piece, and then I'll go ahead and trim the excess off. These panels that I have are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. A lot of the card panels used during this video are trimmed down at least a little bit. Some of them cover the entire card base. And then I'm just going to take a strip of that striped paper and adhere that to the center of the card. So this is a top fold card. And then I take a die from my stash, and the dies that I use in this video are mainly circles. They're just basic dies like circles and squares. I tried to limit the amount of like fancy dies and other things like that that I use, just because I wanted to kind of make this more of a basic card making video and not so much, you know, a heavy supply video. So once I adhered all that, I took my glitter stick in clear and put that over the circle sentiment. For this next card, I went ahead and used 2 of those pieces of paper that are striped. They might have already been cut apart, and so that's why I went ahead and laid it out like I did. So the stripes on the top don't necessarily match up with the ones on the bottom. And then I used a floral strip in the middle and cut out one of the floral pieces and then used the sentiment thinking of you. And so that will complete that set of those 2 cards. I really love this paper pad. It's very easy to create layouts and to cut apart the different floral pieces. So this card I really messed up on. I went ahead and I took a square die from my stash, and what I wanted to do was just pop up that middle and have it match up with the background frame, and that didn't end up happening. So I'm taking this piece of cardstock from my stash and I'm going to mat it on that just to give it a different little peak of color. I'm going to stamp the sentiment directly onto my card panel this time, and as I mentioned, this is a non-porous card, so you will need to heat set it with some kind of embossing powder to ensure that it does not smear. So I went ahead and here, this is my card panel, and I adhered the frame, but I had already adhered the frame, and I adhered that to my card base, and then I was going to adhere this pop-up piece, and unfortunately it did not match because I did it upside down. So I was trying to figure out a solution for this. I tried several different things and I ended up with just putting a sentiment right over the top. So I wasn't super happy with how that one turned out. But in order to get the flowers to line up, I had to go ahead and put something over the top to kind of hide that upside down sentiment. And so here is the next card. I just put that piece of pattern paper at an angle, and then I stamped several sentiments around the edges. And then I'll go ahead and stamp a sentiment directly onto the pattern paper. And it says, "You are enough," and then around the side is just encouraging sentiments. And here I'm just taking my black gel pen. I didn't want to use splatter, so that's how I tried to create splatter, was to put a few little dots of that gel pen. Then I also used some enamel dots on that card. So this is another card I kind of messed up on. If you know how I make cards, you know that I don't particularly like to take measurements too much, and so that shows on some of these cards. I had went ahead and I made a pencil line so I could get that kind of triangle cut out, and then I had to erase it, and it took off some of the pattern on the pattern paper, which actually turned out really nicely, because then I just went ahead and took my eraser and distressed the rest of the paper, so it kind of actually gave it a pretty cool look. So this card is almost looks like an envelope in a way. Unfortunately, what I did is I made one side a little bit wider than the other. So as you can see at the top of the left and right side of the pattern paper is a lot thicker on the right side, and I was trying to figure out how to cover that up. I really like how this card came together, except for where I had to place the sentiment in order to hide that mistake. So I went ahead and set that aside because I wasn't sure what flowers I would need for the second card, and I was running out of whole flowers that I could cut out. So I just went ahead and made a strip on that second card and aligned it with that Crazy Creations thin strip of sticker, which this time was in pink, so I have several colors. But as you can see, it is that right side is thicker than the left, and I didn't really like that. So for this, I went ahead and I trimmed this one out with those Crazy Creations strips in gold. And so I'm just putting the other piece that sort of matches the pattern. I'm adhering that other piece that was kind of cut apart, so it has the gold strip running through the middle of it. And then I'll go ahead and take that other piece of floral that I had fussy cut out and put that in the center. And then I know the sentiment's really hard to see. I think it says "enjoy the little things" or something like that. but it was white embossed on a very light cardstock, so that did not come out well on the camera. And then this other card, I heat embossed VersaFine, I think it was Charming Pink, and then popped up that flower and then added a few enamel dots. I actually really kind of like these cards, even though I messed up on that one. So the next really pretty piece of paper is this floral with some shades of pink stripes, and this is a vellum card. So basically what I did was I took a piece of vellum and created a card base out of that. I just created it just like I would just like I would make a cardstock card base. To keep that piece of pattern paper in the center, I went ahead and took a thin strip of double-sided adhesive and put down the center crease of that vellum card and then folded it over. And I did not want both sides of the vellum to open, so it would be like a 3-part card. I just wanted it to be a 2-part, so I do end up adhering the vellum to that back piece. I did make a paper frame using the striped pattern paper, which I used double-sided adhesive on. And so I'm just going to go ahead and attach that to the front of the card, and then I also heat emboss the words "thank you." And then I just left it blank inside, but I figured probably if I were going to send this out, I would go ahead and just slip a little note in it or something like that, so that the pattern paper doesn't have writing over it, or even just to put a small piece of white or lightly colored paper and write the sentiment on that. So I kind of like how this card turned out. I like how you flip it open and you can see the other piece of pattern paper from that frame on the inside. For the second card with this set of papers, I am taking that striped pattern paper again and putting that on either side of the floral piece. And this will go across horizontally on this card instead of vertically like the other 2 paper strips that I used. And then I'll adhere that, and I added the sentiment, and it says "smile, happy looks good on you." I went a little overboard on this card with the drops. I put some, I believe it's the unicorn stickles, and then some black Nuvo drops, which I added unicorn stickles on top of, so they were like double dots, and that completes that set. This is one of my favorites. I really like this pattern paper. I really love those daisies with kind of the watercolor background. So here I am just kind of measuring out to make sure that I have the most of the pattern that's going to show on my card, and this is going to be a horizontal card as well, or a top fold card. And then I have this really pretty sentiment from the Kaiser Craft stamp set. It says "be your own kind of beautiful." And I'm just going to go ahead and adhere that to the card base. I put a strip of that striped blue pattern paper on the bottom portion, and this was a super easy card. I didn't add any more embellishments. I added a strip of paper on the inside. I actually don't do that much, but it makes it look really, just adds that extra touch of something to the card. So I might try doing that more often in the future. For the next card, I took a piece of craft card base, and then my sentiment is craft, and I have just heat embossed clear embossing powder. And it just says "thank you." And so I'm taking 2 of those leftover pieces of pattern paper. So the striped, and then the top of that daisy pattern paper has this really pretty watercolor, and I'm putting that on the top. And then I had cut out several of the daisies to place on the card. I had cut them out originally with the stems on, and then I couldn't get it how I liked it, so I went ahead and cut those off. And then here I'm taking a piece of, I believe it's called jute, and I have already attached the sentiment to the card, and I just use my little fancy stapler with the colored staples, and I believe the color that I used is just a yellow color. And then to hide that middle piece where the pattern papers meet, I'm going to go ahead and adhere the flowers. And what I did with the flower pattern paper is I just curled them up a little bit with my fingers so that they weren't flat against the card but popped up a little bit. And this is one of my favorite sets from the paper pad. Here's another super easy card. So I have a green mat and this floral pattern paper, and I will adhere those together. And then I took a piece of white ribbon from my stash, and to adhere it to my card I am using double-sided tape. And then I'll go ahead and just attach that to the center of the card and fold those ribbon pieces over to the back, and then adhere that to that green mat. And then the sentiment, the circle sentiment, I'll go ahead and take some, oh, I don't pop that up, I don't think. Do I? Yes, I do. I think I do pop that up. So I pop that up on the card, and it just says positive vibes coming your way. This is another super easy one. I put a piece of pattern paper, a thicker piece on the left side, and then a thinner piece on the right. And then just really easy, just this blocky thanks sentiment, white embossed on black. And I actually made two of these, one that was white embossed and one that has a little bit of a kind of a tan and white embossing powder. And I saved that for another card, but this was a super fast card to create. And I think that's my whole point in doing this, is to not, you know, do a lot of technique or special ink blending or anything like that, just to make it really simple and, you know, something that anybody can do, and something that anybody could do with supplies that they already have on hand. So for this next really pretty paper pad, there's shades of purple, and I went ahead and put a strip of green pattern paper and then tied a purple piece of jute in with a ribbon, or not a ribbon, that's a bow. And then the other piece of pattern paper from the set, I used a circle die to go ahead and cut that piece out and adhere that. And then I also cut out several of the floral pieces, fussy cut those out. And then the sentiment just says wishing the best for you, and it's just a simple sentiment that I'm just going to lay across the entire card. And then I also do add some liquid pearl embellishments to this card. And so that will complete this set of 2 cards. I just wanted to say I hope everyone's doing well. I know it's super stressful for some, and crafting is a great way to relieve that. You know, sometimes it helps me, and sometimes I am so distracted by my thoughts that it doesn't. But, you know, it's good to have an outlet, whatever that may be, whether that's exercise or crafting, or, you know, just something where you can kind of get away and decompress a little bit. But I totally recommend, if you are able to, is to go outside. And whether you are going for a walk or whether you're just outside, being outside, like sitting on your front porch or your back porch or whatever, it's just getting outside and the sunlight and the fresh air, which, you know, they are saying that because there are not as many people on the roads, because people are working from home and they're not, you know, able to go anywhere because of the stay-at-home orders, that our air quality is so much better. And hopefully the weather for everyone is beautiful. In Arizona, it is the perfect time of year. Right now it's in the 80s. We're not, you know, in summer yet, and, you know, we're not super cold, which it doesn't really, I mean, it feels cold to me when it gets cold here, but probably to somebody else it would not feel the same. But it's just really beautiful outside to get out and just experience the wonderful outdoors. So basically, I just hope everybody is doing well. Let me know how you're passing the time or how you're doing. I wanted to make this video an interactive video, and I just figured it was a little bit longer than my normal videos, and I didn't want to make people have to sit through the whole video if they didn't want to. And so hopefully this week or weekend I will have a video up that's going to be an interactive giveaway. So it's going to be sort of like a Where's Waldo slash scavenger hunt kind of thing. And I'm thinking about doing it for my craft room tour because I think that would be probably the easiest. So I'm hoping that'll be something that's a little bit fun and interesting, I guess. It's not something I've done before. And so I thought I'd give it a try, and maybe in the future, if it works out well, do some other kind of fun giveaways like that that are a little more interactive or involved as far as, you know, finding different things in the videos. But I hope you found some inspiration in this video and maybe some different layout ideas or ideas for just some basic cards, because really that's all that these are, or they're just basic cards using pattern paper. And I really actually enjoyed this. I didn't do all these in one day. I did these over a period of several days. I did a little bit each day. I think towards the end, I kind of ran out of ideas and ran out of steam. But I got a lot of inspiration from Pinterest, especially for things like the layouts. And that's a great way to kind of get some inspiration or some ideas. And again, going into making these cards, my main objective was to use up all the paper. It wasn't to use the paper up as efficiently as possible. So, you know, I don't mind that there's little bits of scraps left. I wasn't going to make, you know, my goal was not to make 100 cards using a 6x6 24 sheet paper pad. It was just to use up all the cards. And then my other main objective was to not use a lot of extra supplies. So I wanted to use my basic dies, like my circles and my squares, but I did not want to use a lot of other additional products. And before I go with these last couple of cards coming up, I just wanted to say thank you for everyone that joined me on the Save the Crafty YouTuber video hop. All of the new subscribers, thank you so much for deciding to click on that subscribe button and subscribe to my channel, and a continued thank you to all of my subscribers that continue to support me and my channel. If you are ever looking for a way to support any channel, whether it is my channel or another channel, it is really important that if there are affiliate links and you're going to go ahead and purchase something anyhow, I'm not saying to just purchase just to purchase, but if you like something that you see on a channel and there is an affiliate link that has been provided, it is a really great way to show that you appreciate the creator and what they are putting out there for you to view, because it does give a small percentage of the sale back to that person or that YouTube creator. And as I finish these last two cards, which by the way are my least favorite, I did not like how these turned out at all. I just want to encourage everyone to, you know, just stay positive as much as you can and realize that we will come out of this on the other end. Our lives might not look the same as they did before, but I think there is always a touch of positive in everything that happens in life. And so I hope you all take care of yourselves. Thank you so much for watching. If you did like this video or find it informative, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. I hope you look forward to the craft room tour / interactive giveaway video, and I am going to try really hard to get that up as soon as I can. And just take care. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you next time.